In this video, we're going to go through a demo I created for the hybrid bundle, which features both Poly and Wave. Now, Poly is an analog modeled synth, and Wave is a wavetable synth. With both of these libraries, I was trying to create an action style cue and hopefully showcase what each of these libraries is capable of in that context. So with both of them, you can create a bunch of different types of sounds and utilize them in plenty of different ways in your compositions. So with both of them, you can create pulsing sounds. We've got arpeggiated sounds. We've got keys. We've got pads. You name it. You can do it with both of these libraries. So what I'm going to start off doing is I'm going to just play the track as it is, and then I'm going to play it again by just soloing the sample fuel libraries. So in this case, it'd be both Poly and Wave. And then I'm going to go through one by one, and we can see what they're doing in the track and how they're adding to it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so that's the piece with everything in it. Now I'm going to just play it with the sample fuel products. So I'm going to solo this. So in this piece, I was using a lot from both poly and wave. And what I was using them mostly for is to just create the excitement, the movement, add some accents here and there, and doubling some of the other instruments such as strings, maybe some percussive instruments, the piano. And so now let's go through each track and see what it's doing. So this one's called Hollow Steam Pump. I'm using it in the beginning and a few other places as the piece goes on. So it's kind of a cool, ominous pulsing sound, and the way we created that was just with a ramp in the LFO for the volume. Let's move down to this next one. It's called Serious Action Sequence. So as you'll notice with some of these that are either pulsing or arpeggiated, we've got actual key switches for some of these. And what these do, I can bring it up here. Let's just do that. So if I go to the Advanced tab and then the ARP and MIDI page, you've got presets that you can assign to either these key switches down here or even the trigger pads. And that's what we've done. And so these would trigger different presets in the arpeggiator. And so as you can see, some of them look completely different, and on the fly you can choose to trigger some of these and change it as it goes along. And I know I've done that with at least one other sound in here, and I can show you that once we get there. So this next one's called Add Accents. And as you can hear with this is quite more of a percussive sound. And with a lot of this, I didn't add too much automation other than just some mod wheel. And in certain cases, I did some pitch bends. There's some volume automation. But other than that, I didn't really add a lot. Also, I didn't add a lot of inserts or sins. All the delay, the reverb, and the other effects are done right inside of the instrument itself. So this next one's called Fat Drop. I've used a few different drops in this piece. So this one is one of the first. And then next one, we've got another drop. It's a simple sine drop, just a sine wave. And the way we achieved this was through the pitch envelope and the actual instrument itself. I can bring that up and show you. So it's going to be in the motion section here. We can go to the pitch, and you can see the node going as we do that. There's an amount knob here, and what that can do is pretty much just, depending on how much you want it to modulate the sound, you have different values you can set it to there. So moving forward, we've got another one called Mooting Forward. This one is used quite a lot by Danny himself in the show Manifest. This is one of the signature sounds that he uses in a lot of the cues. Sounds like this are really good for just adding tension and just a little subtle movement here and there. And there's a lot you can do with something like that in a cue. This one's Fuzz Alarm. This next one, we've got the low fat dance pulse. So I used it just a little bit there, probably to add an accent, and then at the end. So for this, I was just trying to add movement in the bass and just kind of support the chordal line going above it with a bass line. This is called Synth in a China Shop. This next one is Smooth Sine. So here I was just trying to add a just a little bit more accent on the bass. As you can see, this is just a very low sine noise, and this doubles well with kick drums and other bass lines. So the next one we have is Throaty Scraper. This one is Digital Raindrops. It's another one that's utilizing the arpeggiator in it, and you can see there's a key switch there. I used it in multiple places, so I think here it starts off as an arpeggiated sound. No, it's chordal. So then next I utilize it as an arpeggiated sound. So this is a good example of just using one preset and getting multiple. You're able to utilize it in many different ways without having to create multiple tracks just through the key switches, much like any string library. So the next one we have is the 4-beat saw riser. So that I used just to transition into the next big moment. So the next one I have the organ from hell amped. So we have a few presets using the same sound. This one's amped. So what we did here is we just got this sound here. I'll bring it up. So the organ from hell amped. And if we go to the effects page, we have an amplifier on it. This is why it's given the name amped. And gotta get it back here. So without the amp, it's already a pretty grungy sound, but when we add the amp, you just get a lot more of a gnarly, just kind of gritty sound from this. Next, we have the Noise Thunder Drum Active. It's another percussive sound. And Next, we've got the Saw Synth Pop in Motion. So as you can see, with a lot of these, the lines that I created aren't very complicated at all. It's pretty much a lot of them just kind of holding down one note. We made it so that they can be easily used in your track without having to think of something complicated, but adding a lot of movement, a lot of character, a lot of color, and you don't have to spend too long to try and find a certain sound. You can just kind of go through maybe 1, 2, 3 presets and find something pretty easily that can fit in your track. The next one we have is called Pebbles. So you get the idea of that one too. This next one is called Reverse Cutting Brass. I'll play it at the end here and see what we have. Next we have the hybrid drop, so it's another drop sound. Pretty straightforward. Then we've got I Like Ostinatos. So it's a good key sound, but it has a little bit more movement in its sustain. So it's nice to kind of give it a little bit more character like that. Let's see. This is strictly just accents in the beginning and at the end. It's called Settling the Score, Aggressive. And next we got On the Run, Thinner. And then we've got Percolating Sine Waves. All right, this next one is 70s era bass. And then at the end, I used it also for the chordal section. It is just doubling the strings. And then we've got one left for Polly. This is the Epic House Break. Let's see, Epic House Breakdown. All right, hopefully you can see in just Polly itself, we can do quite a lot of different stuff. We've got pads, we've got keys, we've got, more movement to some of the pads. We've got pulse sounds, we've got drops. There's a lot you can do with just that instrument itself. So moving forward, we've got, we're going into Wave now. And this next one we got is Siren Song. I'll pull this one up because it's got a little bit going on. So as you can see, we've got wavetable 1 and 2. Those are activated, as well as the noise oscillator. So how we're doing this, and there's a lot of different kind of movements in and out going on. We've got these waveform modulations attached to both wavetables. These are pretty much just LFOs, except each one, the destinations are specific just to that wavetable they're attached to. So this first one, we've got it on the multi-D tune, which is this here. So that's kind of adding that wavering pitch that's going on in the wavetable 1. In wavetable 2, we've got it assigned to the level, and so it's just kind of bringing it in and out in a ramp motion. That's the waveform that we have attached there, and then a sine on the detuning. And so let's see if we got anything extra going on here. So we also have another LFO assigned to the cutoff, bringing it slowly in and out over the span of 16 beats. And let's see what the rate on these are. So the level for the wavetable 2 is happening every half note, and then this is happening every 6 beats. So that's a way that we made it. Instead of just making it a standard straight pad, we've added some movement and a little bit more character to it. So the next one we have is called the Unknown. So it's another arpeggiated sound, but one thing I did at the end here is I was just playing one note, so I was giving us that movement, and then I was bringing in notes in and out just to kind of change up the arpeggiated sound. Next we have spinning saucers. And next we've got one called Airy Oboe. This is probably just the noise oscillator. Let's check it out. Actually, it's just titled wrong. This is actually the slurper, and it's a poly noise. So that's something I can fix right now. As I was making this, I was probably just going through and trying different sounds to see what kind of worked, and I probably just forgot to change this one. We'll put that up there. All right, so this next one's going to be the Mr. Glass Marimba. This is another example of where I'm using the key switches to trigger different arpeggiated presets. Next, we have Pattern Bank 1. Let's see, blue noise. Next, we have Steam keys. And here I was just using these to double the piano. Then we have it at the end as well. Next one we have is string versus synth. So this one I automated a little more. Got some volume automation, modulation, and pitch bends. And this next one, we've got Bram's Enhancer. And here we've got a Noise Chaos 10. This is actually a pretty cool preset. It's created by just the noise oscillator and wave, and there's a noise source you can find that's a rhythmic noise, and so each key has a different sound and a different rhythm, and that hence the name Chaos. And so you can just kind of add a little bit more, or you can seem a bit more inner-determinate with some of this. Yeah. So there's plenty of those to choose from. So the next one we have is Back and Forth Pendulum. We've got a Bram's Enhancer again. This one's called Bram's Enhancer 3 Ramping. And so we've got an LFO on there just with the ramp waveform shape and just doing that. And next we've got Rigby Strings. These are great to double staccato strings with, which is what I've done here. And then we have Under Pressure Thin. And then we've got Jungle Warfare. And lastly, we have another pattern bank. This is with a gray noise, I believe. So that's pretty much everything I'm using with the sample fuel stuff. That's carrying most of the piece. Now that we have an idea of what all this sounds like and what it's adding to the track, let's listen to the track again with everything back in. All right, and there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was insightful, and hopefully it showed you everything that's capable and what you can do with both poly and wave. All right, take care.